Live! We live from the apocalypse! I am Dan O, the Sugar Ray Leonard of the Snack Cabinet, and my co-host, the Muhammad Ali of Match.com, too pretty, K-Dig. It kind of only made sense to talk about one thing today. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
For people like us, it's like a two-horse race, really, and mostly a one-horse race. Just in terms of what is going on in the world. Run the Jewels 4 dropped, and it's a real seismic shift in their popularity. It's the first of these albums that's entered the Billboard Top 10.
Oh, wow.
And it is based on 2 days.
Oh.
So it's pretty serious, and it's a real distinguishing change. And I was fascinated by LP, basically, and his journey into this and the way he's handled himself within it. I give you an example. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I Googled best white rappers in the world. Isn't that great?
In the world?
Oh yeah, the world.
Wow.
And the lists I found were unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I found a list where LP was number 18, and number 7 was Macklemore, and number 5 was Little Dicky.
What year was this? This must have been like 2014 or something.
I think it's recent, bro.
Oh my gosh! No.
Because why would Little Dicky even be on there if it wasn't recent, man? You know, they rated him like that because they saw the FX show.
Wow.
I mean, no shots at Little Dicky. I love all the Little Dicky stuff.
Yeah.
But if he was here, he would say, "Come on, man, LP's."
Yeah.
Come on.
Absolutely.
You know, like
absolutely. Even Macklemore would be like, "No, man, you messed up on that one."
Right. I mean, that's
18. No, that's no.
That's right. Yeah, like right above Asher Roth. You know, so it's the way people view this stuff is really weird. The way people perceive things, and a lot of times important people that set the stage over and over again and clean up don't get recognized. But what were your thoughts on Run the Jewels 4?
I mean, it was one of those things. Sometimes projects land at like the most appropriate time possible. Like things line up, like the stars for some reason line up, and projects that speak to the times land at the exact moment when they would be the most useful.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like Run the Jewels 4 was just one of those projects where it just perfectly, like the stars perfectly aligned, and it was dropped at the exact moment that it was actually needed.
So, and it's really, to me, it's anchored by 2 performances lyrically.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into that. First of all, let's talk about Run the Jewels. When I say behind the scenes guy who means so much to it, I don't just mean LP produces every beat. I mean, the name for this group was LP's idea. He was low, he was down, and he was listening to the LL Cool J song Cheesy Rap Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Said Knock You Out. And that is a song about pure desperation. If you listen to that song, it's about just having lost everything, going back to being a stick-up man, like
Yeah.
sticking people in alleys. And so you have to think about the creation of Run the Jewels as an ideological answer to Watch the Throne.
Hmm.
Watch the Throne releases in 2011, Run the Jewels in 2013. Elle and Mike decide that if you show off your status in front of them, you get God.
Yeah.
Collaboration will be marked by humor, ferocity, intelligent political discussion, and none of the narcissistic posturing of Watch the Throne. What do you see? This is a good question. What do you see as the basic artistic values of Run the Jewels?
What do you mean specifically?
Like what themes do you see in their music? What binds them? Like if you were to just kind of lay out the commandments of what these guys stand for, what would it
You
be?
know, so what I was thinking about so you had me listen to Cheesy Rap Blues to get the context of why LL used that line. And I believe the verse starts out, he goes, "Put your hands in the air and wave them side to side. Good, keep them there and run the jewels, run the jewels." And I think that kind of sums up uh, what RTJ stands for. Like, they're gonna get you in with these bombastic, noisy, loud beats. But then once you're in their world, they're gonna give you, you're gonna get what you're not expecting. You're gonna get the real cold hard truth, according to them.
And what surprised me about listening to Cheesy Rap Blues was LL makes this incredible choice, and he's an artist of bold choices, no question about it. But
Mhm.
the choice here is that he goes, "Put your hands in the air," and he goes, "Keep them there, Run the Jewels."
Yep.
He doesn't he doesn't flex. He doesn't yell it. He doesn't like
Yeah.
mean like. And he was coming out with "I'm Bad." Everyone said he had the same flow as like Melly Mel, which is the same flow that KRS One has. It's the big bombastic
Yep.
showman flow, right?
Yep.
And to go from that to making that pivot, making that change, and saying, "Now run the jewels," like he he was really doing something there. That's a really interesting
I mean,
contrast.
the way that he changed his tone like that quickly, from, wave your hand, put your hands in the air, wave them side to side. Okay, keep them there. Run the jewels. I mean, I think it sums up, what they're about, as in, that kind of Trojan horse type of thing. And
Mhm.
it's also a kind of metaphor for, I know one of the themes that I think that they are, you hear it through their music, through the 4 albums that they release, is they're kind of an corrupted establishment. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they have these power structures that we have in this world, these organizations that are meant to oppress the people. And I kind of think this line kind of ties into that as well, that anti-establishment type of feel that they have in their music, theme that they have in their music, I should say.
Yep. The I want to go over Run the Jewels 4.
Hmm.
Hip Hop by Numbers, which is an incredible Twitter account. If you're looking for who to follow, follow Hip Hop by the Numbers. It's amazing, and they did a full statistical rundown of this. Um, Basically, on Run the Jewels, uh, LP has 19 verses, Mike has 18. 43.3% of the total words are LP. 41.4 are
Wow.
45.2% unique word choice.
How do they do that, man? I mean, they must have
44,
a
44.4 Killer Mike. Uh, 64.1% of Killer Mike's words rhyme, which is very impressive. 67.4 of LP's words rhyme.
man.
I mean
I mean,
that's something.
first of all, I mean that's amazing that they were able to work that quickly and break that down statistically. But I mean, Run the Jewels is, I mean, yeah, it's funny and there's like dick jokes and whatnot, but there's a high level of intellect that goes into their rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like these are well thought out verses, and these guys, well, I should say these are well thought out verses from two very intelligent men.
Right, right. And it's not for nothing that one of my notes was that it's important that these two met when they met. Killer Mike's first album is in 2003, Monster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is one of my questions. How important is it that Mike and El were full-grown artists by the time they got together? I gave you a bunch of weird LP stuff. Like he is on the song Patriotism,
Yeah.
that's on Soundbombing 2. It's hard to get now, but that was 1998, dude. 1998. Like
Wow.
this guy is a lifer and has made an incredible mark on the music,
Mm-hmm.
and is still like, you know, rapping, more verses than Killer Mike while producing the thing. He's a workhorse, and
Yeah.
I mean both of these guys are. I just feel like Killer Mike has become a star from Run the Jewels. He was unignorable, right? From the first one, he was unignorable. He
Absolutely.
became, I've got a metaphor here, a baseball metaphor.
Okay.
Doing easy on the NBA stuff, darn it. That he is the David Ortiz of Run the Jewels.
Okay, in what way?
The moment numbers don't make David Ortiz special. It's a moment. It's that moment. They were down like 3-0, right? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was against the Yankees, right?
They beat the Yankees in overtime, right? In extra innings, sorry.
Yeah.
And in the press conference after, David Ortiz gets to the mic and says, beating us ain't going to be easy.
Mm.
And there's something about the way he said it, the way he carried it, that's when the title was won. Like everyone was like, let's go. And that's Killer Mike. Killer Mike is the power of the lineup, and he is the charisma and the orator, right?
Yeah. And I feel like he's the one that kind of grounds LP in a way as well, because Killer Mike, yes, he has like this big personality and whatnot, and he can be aggressive at times, but I get a sense of that he's a solid dude and that he's a grounding presence for everyone that he's around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that listening to LP, before Run the Jewels and listening to him with Run the Jewels, there's like a I can't like put my hands on it or put my finger on it, I should say, but there's a difference in his confidence and he just felt like you could just tell the influence that Killer Mike has had on him as a rapper and as a person. I can hear it.
I mean, you can hear I first noted this. I think I reviewed So let me give you my Run the Jewels order. You ready?
Okay.
The best one is Run the Jewels 2. The
Okay.
second best one is Run the Jewels 4. Then
Hmm.
Run the Jewels 1. Then Run the Jewels 3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, um, I think in noting in my review of Run the Jewels 2, I noted that LP's flow is slowed down a little bit.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
he has slowed down just enough that people can understand everything he's saying now.
Right.
He moves so fast sometimes, it's dizzying.
Yeah.
Everything rhymes, and you miss really smart stuff.
Right.
Really good jokes, really personal stuff if he's just going, Um, so it's good. Like I remember feeling that way. I was back you know, when I first pulled him up on these lyric sites, and I was like, "That's what he's saying," because this is amazing. Why
Yeah.
why doesn't he slow down? And yeah, it was a great review of Run the Jewels 4 by Gary Suarez. I think I sent this to you.
Hmm.
Does great work. Recently published in NPR and in uh, Rolling Stone, and he replies to my stuff, and he seems like a genuine dude. And he wrote, at 45, LP remains one of the most visible keepers of rap's rock fixation. Superstars Lil Uzi Vert and Travis Scott might fuck with Marilyn Manson on some level, but neither of them grew up in the era of Run DMC. Whether evoking the spirit of the Oberheim DMX for Out of Sight, or tapping Queens of the Stone Age Josh Home for Pulling the Pin, the former Company Flow figure regularly reaches for a vibe that feels so distant from what else is going on in hip hop's mainstream or underground.
Hmm.
Some would say that's precisely what makes Run the Jewels so special. And for the first time, I'm inclined to agree. He's been making beats for longer than I've been writing about music. And the sound he's decided upon in the 2010s and now the 2020s is uniquely his. You
Absolutely.
you have to admire that he's paved his own path sonically, no longer beholden to the underground and indie world that would love nothing more than to duct tape him to an office chair and make him produce another Cannibal Ox album. Much
Hmm.
like Killer Mike moved on from the novelty of his Outcast enabled 2003 breakout Adidas and developed his own voice, LP just isn't that guy anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
That's it. It's an important note. I mean, this cover is bright pink and cool looking, you know?
Hmm.
It is not scary or weird, right?
No.
Um I mean, basically what I like about Suarez's review is it really hits on something that is close to me and my experience with LP's music. Um, 2000s underground rap was a real community. It was a real thing, and Def Jux was a huge part of it. The label that LP ran for like 10, 12 years. Um, it was an enormous staple of everything, and I just didn't get it, and I didn't like it. I specifically, I remember being outside of an Atmosphere show with Slug, and I could hang out with Slug because women were fawning on him, but once they got their picture, they left him alone. And he was just by himself, just kicking it. So I just kind of moseyed over and was like, hey, man, and started talking to him about the label, Rhyme Sayers, and different people from the Scribble Jam era of battling. And he was talking about Def Jux. I remember saying, man, I think that stuff sucks. And he bounced from the conversation. And I always admired that. I look back on that and I go, that's a solid dude. Because he's done LP for fucking years.
Mm.
And what does he need me for? I don't know what the fuck. So he's like, fuck this dude. And he just walks off. And as I've discovered how great LP is, I was like, that was a good move by Slug. I was wrong on that. But yeah, there's that point of like, I don't get this. Why is this so fucking noisy and fast and irritating? You know? But he was cracking the code on something.
Yeah. I mean, it takes for some producers, like, they have their sound outside the gate. I mean, right from the gate, I should say, you know. But some producers take a little bit more time, and they have to ruminate on a little bit more. They're more experimental until they find what works for them. And I mean, you can hear the growth in LP from Run the Jewels, and in his production from Run the Jewels 1 to Run the Jewels 4.
100%. And what's really fascinating about Run the Jewels is, I think, so I have to go into the greater landscape here that I have to show this shirt. Backwoods Studio sent me, this is the cover of Armand Hammer's Rome album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. I love this shirt. So Armand Hammer came out with their new album, Shrines. And immediately there was some counterculture stuff going on there. There was some important critics being like, I'll take Shrines every day of the week. That's the real prescient commentary on today's times. Like, Run the Jewels, that's just this buddy comedy bullshit they've been doing, you know, for years now. And it's what, I don't know how much of the Talib Kweli podcast interview you listened to.
Yeah, I watched a good portion of it. Probably about got halfway through.
Exactly what he was talking about when Talib asked him about running Def Jux and why he walked away and the philosophical differences. He specifically said, man, like, it got to a point where people were like using us as a label to turn their heads on other artists. You know, he used the example. People came up to me saying, I can't like Jay-Z because he's not underground.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And says, I'm from Brooklyn. How am I going to do that?
Right. Huh.
You know? And that was just a great example of like, L doesn't view divisions in music like this.
Right.
If you Google like his favorite albums, he did this article back in 2012 of his favorite albums, and it's like Talking Heads, Blade Runner soundtrack, Prince's Parade soundtrack, like the Fat Boys. It's just got lots of weird stuff on it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't see these divisions.
Right.
Yeah, let me read. I was really interested in the Fat Boys thing that he wrote. Let me do that. So it's hard to explain, but when I was a kid, I just looked up to these guys. Run DMC were like the kick-ass, bigger-than-life superheroes. But Fat Boys were truly likable, hilarious, dope. They were just guys that were funny as fuck. And they appealed to my childish sensibilities, I'm sure. It was kind of playful, but the beats were fucking incredible. And the dudes could rap their ass off for the time. I'm sure there are plenty of people for whom the Fat Boys don't fit into the pantheon of what's considered classic rap shit. But for me, just for the whole style, it was this crazy, infectious thing. And they were laughing through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's interesting.
What part?
I mean, growing up in that era and being like, yeah, everybody likes Run DMC, but I'm into the Fat Boys.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ties back to the to the Talib Kweli podcast that they filmed, there was a section where they were talking about, you know, what they liked. Well, one of the aspects that they liked about Run DMC, and I'm sure they liked about the Fat Boys, was how relatable it was. And I think, you know, that's what they were, you know, Run the Jewels is getting for. They want to be relatable. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be you pick one path and then you stick on that path and you can't explore other paths. It can't be like, it doesn't have to be where you have to be, if you a conscious rapper or something, and you can only rap about intelligent, conscious stuff and focus on that and leave all the, you know, lowbrow humor aside. No, you can do both things. You know, we're human beings. We contain a lot of multitudes. You know what I mean? Like, you can make an observation about culture and then the very next moment make a dick joke. You
And
know
that
what I mean?
is what I think he saw as his advantage when he looking at the Watch the Throne model. And he said, but we could do it a different way. And it will be more durable.
I mean, Watch the Throne is a little bit more, and I say that, I mean, it was pretentious in a way, but that was by design. You know, they had the gold cover, I mean, designed by Givenchy. So, you know, it had to be pretentious. It had to be, go ahead.
What they were going for was kind of a trashy art, Andy Warhol style, pop art, in your face.
Yes.
You know, going over the top, but like the philosophy nerd in me, and you tell me if I'm going too far here. The philosophy nerd in me says that Watch the Throne is a bit about destiny, right? Watch the Throne is about, we are destined to rule. You are destined to be ruled. You observe our throne.
I mean, that's been Jay-Z's motto for last couple of decades. You know what I mean? So,
raised into, right? So there's these like, and some of it is because there's fictitious accomplishments at play here. There was Kanye is the only artist to have a #1 single on every album he's ever had, and I laughed because I said, dude, Nice and Smooth clocked in at 143 on the charts, dude. It's not because they suck. It's because rap was nowhere in the
right.
Lakers wouldn't touch the stuff.
Right.
Like, there was no funding. If you watch like these old Slick Rick videos, he's wearing his grandmother's fur coat, bro. It doesn't fit. This was really New York house party shit.
Right. Yeah.
These guys didn't go platinum like Ye did, but it's not a value judgment on them.
No.
And
I
think Jay and Kanye lost that a little bit. They lost the understanding of that. They did sit back and say, I am better than Elvis. Who the fuck cares about Elvis?
Yeah, I mean, I compare music nowadays to, there's a direct correlation to sports as well. We always tie music to sports, but, you know, numbers are, we live in a culture that's driven by numbers. You know, I mean, the bigger the numbers, the sexier the numbers are, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So they've tailored the game they've tailored the game, whether it be sports, particularly I'm thinking of the NBA, NFL, or the music industry, to produce numbers,
right.
Sexy numbers that people can tie their legacy to. I mean, look at, and I know I'll make my my daily mention of Drake. Drake's a big numbers guy, and you know if you look at it, he's got the numbers to back that up. But that's because the game has been designed for him to put up big numbers.
It's the same philosophy, right? It's this destiny thing, right? I am destined to be the man, and the whole Pusha T threw everything off because everybody was like, "What?" But I'm guarantee you, LP wasn't surprised
Hmm. Yeah.
because if there's a great video, like a short interview with LP about the Control verse that Kendrick did, and
Okay. For Big Sean's song, or was it? Was
yes, but it's and like they were like the guy interviewer was like, "Yeah, can I ask you about the Control controversy?" And LP says, "It's like, what controversy? What are you talking about, man? How's it a controversy?" Like he said, "That's what you're supposed to do, man."
yeah.
Like he said, "Think me and Mike are nervous?" And Killer Mike came out and said, "Hey, past few years, we've been doing it. Best album of the years, we've been doing it." Kendrick's
Yeah.
like, "So we're not worried."
Right.
He's like, "Other people are worried. Okay, you're worried, but like, we're not worried because we've been doing it." I
Right. I mean, it.
He said we
I was
come
just.
to each other's neck every time we come in that studio, and that's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do.
I mean, if you're comfortable with yourself, you're not looking at what other people are doing. You're not looking at numbers, and you can tell that LP. Even the interview with Talib, like that was the first time I've ever heard him just talking, honestly. And it was, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting him to be such like a laid back. There's like a quiet confidence about him that I was not expecting by
Which
the
track
way
you
that
said?
he's rapping. Huh?
What track? Or
Oh, I'm talking about the Talib Kweli interview.
oh, the way
Uh,
he carried himself.
yeah,
That's
just
watching
hearing him talk like a normal person.
watching these interviews are so weird because LP more than anyone is totally different in different spaces.
Yeah.
He's I've interacted with him on Twitter. I made the mistake of calling the first Run the Jewels a mixtape. Not like that. I never begrudged him. It was a great LP interaction, uh, but he can be gruff. He can
Yeah.
be gruff. But around somebody like Talib, where he's so comfortable, it's different.
Yeah.
Different, and you're right, and it's totally different depending on who he's talking to.
Yeah.
His defenses either go up or come down. But I think LP, philosophically, I think LP views this game as a game that anybody can win. That's why we play it.
Mm.
LP would not be surprised if he killed Jay on a track. LP would not be surprised if he got killed on a track by an 18-year-old.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
That's the game. Like
Right.
everybody gets to step up to bat. Everybody gets to take their best shot, and anybody can make this happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's probably why him and Killer Mike got along so well, because Killer Mike's got that same mentality as well.
And so Run the Jewels, the kind of philosophy for was like, let us prove this to you. We're not gonna ordain ourselves. We're not gonna tell you we are this thing. Let's prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Run the beat, tight loops, fast moving pace. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, and it's weird listening to a lot of LP because we went beyond the Run the Jewels in his solo stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of made other rap music boring. Sound boring a little bit.
Because I mean, I think what I've noticed with his music is it's very, not only is it very dynamic, but what he does that I really appreciate as a producer is he actually constructs his songs with the listener's experience in mind. And you found a lot of that, like particularly like in Run the Jewels 4, like I listened, the song I'm thinking about is it Walking in the Snow? Walking in the Snow. I mean, if you listen to that song, like you can tell that musically there's a narrative. There was thought put into the design and structure of the song with the listener's experience in mind.
He says he has
And
other versions of that beat. He says that he worked a lot of versions of that beat.
yeah, and I think it's dynamic because now I think with a lot of songs now they're very static. Like, you know, they have a beat and you hear that beat pretty much for the whole 2 or 3 minute, maybe even 4-minute song, and it doesn't really change. You know what I mean? But with him, there's a dynamism. I guess I think that's the word. Dynamism regarding.
I think dynamism probably.
There's like it's lively. Like there's a pulse to his music that's not a lot of hip hop music has nowadays.
I think Run the Jewels 4 is as excellent as it is because of 2 performances.
Okay.
And these performances are really particularly like staples of the yin yang of what you can get in a Run the Jewels album. So it's Killer Mike on Walking in the Snow. And
yeah,
I don't need to read it to you. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Go on social media. People are quote tweeting these lyrics. It is. Oh, I mean, the first time I heard his verse on Walking in the Snow, I like froze.
Remarkable, yeah.
I froze.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything about it. It was just something that was really, scary how important it was. But the other one, and the album wouldn't be anything without both, is LP on the last song, A Few Words for the Firing Squad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read that. I woke up early once again. That's 4 days straight. I didn't wake you, baby. I just watched you lay in the radiation of the city sun. I am in love with you. It is my only grace. You know how everything can seem a little out of place. All of my life, that seemed to be the only normal state. So feeling normal never really meant me feeling sane. And being clear about the truth and being sane have never really been the same. I just wanted to get the chance to show the world how I'm smart. Isn't that dumb? I should have focused mostly on the heart. Because I've seen smarter people trample life like it's an art. So being smart ain't what it used to be. That's fucking dark.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that was my highlight from him on the album as well. Yeah.
I mean, that was shocking. And when he goes into the romantic end of what he does, it's really something, man. It's really something. And to get that and that personal, like, romantic staple alongside what Killer Mike is able to do, like, geopolitically speaking, is unbelievable.
Right. There's a level of humanity to both of them. But in what you just read, the level of humanity, that's something we can all we can't all relate to, but we all aspire to relate to that feeling that he has.
I have a saying that I use way too much, and everybody should use it if you're around like a business major or a fucking economist. You tell them doing the right thing is always profitable. This is an example of that. The humanity that you say that they provide, the dimension that they provide, equals artistic versatility. It equals a better listening experience.
Yeah.
It's a good move. Doing the right thing, digging within yourself, finding a new place to explore is a great business decision.
Absolutely.
If you know you can pull it off, it's no problem. So it's a really I don't know. I think those two really keep the album in check, and he's kind of always had that muscle, man. Um, Fantastic Damage. This is kind of what made me want to want to do this. Before Run the Jewels dropped, we decided to go into this.
Hmm.
And because I listened to a song called TOJ on Fantastic Damage, Time Out of Joint. Uh, and it's no protective. Let me read some lyrics. No protective leathery flesh of emotional chainmail, no running shoes, no running, no locking doors, no anger, no email, no voicemail, communication or strangulation or distortion of purity sentiment, no fantasy of reconciliation or delusion of no revenge, no bullshit codes or hidden agendas, no preaching, no pedestal, no standing on the pulpit, no ego, no newspeak or freakish lingo. Here I go. I haven't loved many people. I grew up afraid that I was crazy. And one time when I was deep inside your body, you purred, and I was sure that you were going to have my baby.
Wow.
Now, the postscript is the genius says this that during a Red Bull Music Academy lecture, LP was asked about the song, and he said it was written for a woman, it was a love letter. It was definitely just a direct love letter to somebody that it didn't work out with. I had a very complicated, fucking heartbreaking relationship with someone who I am still very close with now. I think one of the reasons why we're still close is because I wrote that song and I sent it to her.
Yeah, I mean, when someone writes something like that, you know that the emotions that they felt were real.
Did you listen to that? Did you listen to Fantastic Damage?
No.
Okay. It's great. You should check it out. It's Times Out of Joint is an incredible song. Um, and it's really important. It just he started going introspective on Fun Crusher Plus, uh, Company Flow album, and he had a song in there called "The Last Good Sleep," I think, and it was from his point of view as a child, surviving his mother getting beaten up, and he didn't really know if it would work out. He was kind of in the state of mind like, why would anybody want to hear this? But as we know, a well placed song like that you don't expect really binds your audience to you.
Right.
Like they never give up on you. They get invested in you, not just the music.
Right. You as a person, not just the musical artist. Yeah.
And they come and they check in for your growth.
Right.
And that's kind of what happened. And he kept doing that, kept giving to them. And man, his solo records are really good. Really good. There's so Fantastic Damage is 2002. 2007 is the next one. That's I'll Sleep When You're Dead. Um, and then Cancer for Cure is 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that has Trent Reznor on it and stuff. Like
Right.
he's got some pretty incredible friends, and that's what's cool about it. When they came together, they can each bring different friends into the mix, right?
Yeah.
Juice, he can call Killer Mike can call Trina or Gangsta Boo or Big Boy,
Yeah.
bring them on. Whereas LP can call Zach De La Rocha
Yeah, man.
and Josh Home and all these people that he like is in with from being just a really important New York guy for a long ass time.
Yeah.
And he can bring all these cats together in ways you've never seen before, right?
Yeah, I mean it's synergy. I mean, when Zach to me, I mean at this point he could be the third. They could ask him to join Run the Jewels as like a third member, and he'd fit in. He'd fit in fine, perfectly. Even Gangsta Boo. You know what I mean? Like they've created an atmosphere where, and LP's production has created an atmosphere where everyone's strongest suits or strongest strengths can shine. I mean, that's why the track on Run the Jewels 4, all four of them are on there, right? I forgot the name of it. What's the song that Zach's on?
So
Is it the one with Pharrell? It's not the one with Just, right?
Just, yeah.
Yes, okay. I mean, and that's, I mean, you can have a track with Run the Jewels, Pharrell, and Zach De La Rocha, and sounds fine. Everyone works.
Yeah.
Everyone fits.
It's and that's not even the craziest like mix, dude. That's not even the craziest mixture. I mean, to have a song on an album in 2020 that has Run the Jewels, Mavis Staples,
Oh yeah.
and Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, like that. It's kind of it's incredible flex.
Yeah.
To be able to say, yeah, we did get 2 Chainz and Mavis Staples and Josh Homme on the same fucking track. And really, the ultimate flex is Greg Nice on Ooh La La.
Mm-hmm.
To have Ooh La La be like the first or second single featuring Greg Nice of Nice and Smooth and DJ Premier scratching away was so glorious. It was such a glorious celebration.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Greg Nice, one of the most important voices in hip hop. You have heard his voice scratched into countless records.
Mm-hmm.
I have been listening to a lot of Nice and Smooth because of Run the Jewels, and it's just my sweet spot because I fucking love people like that. Warren G is another one of those people like that. Greg Nice's voice is an incredible instrument.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And because he's a good fucking dude, like Greg Nice is never trying to like shoot you in the face. He's rapping about like getting girls and hanging out and having fun, and like it's a relief. Greg Nice's music is a relief. It's a joy. The same way like Warren G's was. And there are people like that sprinkled through rap history who you would listen to. Like I thought, man, Greg Nice was like the first Smino. You know? Just a guy who was like, okay, and like just everything he said was cool sounding. Did you listen to any of that on the playlist?
Yeah, I listened to. I forgot the name of the song, but what was the name of the song on the playlist?
Was it the Gangstar song? The DWYCK?
No, there was another one. It's kind of it's like the old EMPD.
EPMD.
EPM.
Yeah.
Yes.
EPMD is different from Nice and Smooth, but very much critical. When they apparently sat down when they decided they were going to form a group, and they started talking about the great rap groups of all time. And Killer Mike is not one of these guys who is limited to his regional knowledge. Both of these guys are geniuses. Like, And on Run the Jewels 4, one of these rappers references J. Rude the Damager in a positive way. And it's not LP. It's Killer Mike. It's incredible. So Killer Mike knows the whole history of the whole shit, and so does LP. And they start chopping it up about what makes a great rap group. And they talked about EPMD.
Okay.
Those first 4 EPMD albums are like spotless. They're beautiful. The production is as fresh as anything is now. They were talking about it in an interview. They said, man, you could dress like they did then and now, and it would be dope.
Yeah.
They were still wearing fisherman hats and like dope, Adidas suits or whatever, and just like they were fresh, man. Look up the Strictly Business EPMD cover, and you'll see. Just cool people who just wanted to rap their ass off and were really good at it. And so they both understand this, and LP especially adores all that era. What would you say that golden era music has differently that is gone now?
I mean, there's a good nature about it. It just felt, because what I'll say is now everything that comes out there's not a sincerity to it. Like everything that comes out now is by design. Like if they're rapping about something, they're rapping about that to get a certain reaction or gain a certain audience. I mean, there's a lot of factors. I think one, back then it felt more organic. It felt more pure. Like the label, it didn't feel like the labels had. Okay, I know the best way to say it. It feels like people weren't worried about their brand per se.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think nowadays, whenever someone does something, they're thinking about, okay, does this fit my brand? And you can hear it affects, the way they rap and the sincerity of most artists, because they're just thinking about building their brand.
There's this
and I feel like
freedom to it. Like you can see it in the music videos where they're like, I got an idea. I'm going to put on my nice shirt. You put on your nice shirt. We're going to go to the beach and we'll get a bunch of ladies to like oogle us in our nice shirt. And that's the whole video.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? I'm just running from these sexy ladies because I want my solo beach time or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just so raw and playful with no expectations.
Exactly. Yes.
Which
it's just organic.
Kanye will never have. That's what Greg Nice had that Kanye will never have. He got to just do it.
You got to just be.
Right. So it's interesting. I would say if I had to put something on it, the difference between nowadays and then, what you say goes through in the structure, right? Because now everything is much slower.
Okay.
It is much more like the samples are reversed and chopped up and strained, and it's distorted, spooky, like promethazine music. And so someone like Playboy Cardi's probably a good example of this.
Okay.
And I can't even tell you honestly that I don't like Playboy Cardi, because I put him on. I put him on in the background, and it's fun for me. But he will make a whole song out of like Liddy to Titty, the man in my city.
Right.
Titty, the man in my city. And that's enough. Right? He's got it. That's it. Run it up the charts. and it's just slow and it's sludgy and it's weird. And someone in an entertainment group that I'm a part of on Facebook said, I hate Run the Jewels. It feels like they have a 13-year-old's understanding of rap music. Very funny to me. Let's pretend that we can mark the origination of rap music in 1978. Sound about right?
Okay.
What's 13 years after 1978?
Is that 90? Is that 91? No.
1991.
Okay. Wow. My math was okay.
Which
All
is
right.
the same year of Nice and Smooth's best album, Ain't a Damn Thing Changed. It's the same year of my favorite Public Enemy album, Apocalypse 91. So, I mean, okay. At 13 years old, hip hop was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And if you have just listened to the stuff now, if you're like, my playlist is, you know, Zaytoven Gucci Mane, and it is Travis Scott, and it is, you know, all this, then yeah, you probably think this is goofy.
Right. And I'll say right now in hip hop, for me, there's a lack of, there's not a lot of joy. Like, I feel like hip hop, the basis of hip hop was joy. Like there was a youthful, childlike energy, and I equate that with joy. You know what I mean?
And the issue we talk around in hip hop is drug addiction, right?
Yeah.
Like drug addiction, Little Peep, all that stuff. That really slows down the music. It changes the content. It's all darker and deeper and sadder.
Yeah.
And back in those days, man, it moved. It moved. And you can tell they do. Run the Jewels do that clipped bar thing that DMC did, where they're like, ba, 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 da, 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 boom, and then pass it to him, ba, ba, ba.
Right. Yeah.
They have short bursts between each other, not fully.
Like the tag team, like the tandem type of thing. Yeah.
You can only do that if you really trust the person you're on a song with. You can't fucking do that. You know, I don't even think Jay and Ye could have done that because they each kind of wanted the throne for themselves.
I mean, they did it, but I would say they did it on Otis. But what I would say is that the level of skill has to be, it has to be pretty equal as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So both to get the full potential of the matchup or of the collaboration, both of the skill levels have to be either high or equally equal to each other. And with Killer Mike and LP, like, I mean, there's not a drop off of skill between either of the two. So you can do that interchanging type of thing, because you can pass him the baton. If we're thinking like a relay race, you know, Mike passes LP the baton, he knows he's not going to drop it. He'll go around the track once, pass it right back to him in the same place. They'll be going at the same exact speed.
Yeah, man. No, it's really interesting, and I just like, so the impossible question to ask is LP a producer who raps or a rapper who produces?
I don't know, man. I mean, because his production is so. I mean, his production is so high level. Like, I compare him to like maybe Kanye. Like, Kanye is definitely, to me, a producer who raps, because Kanye is the top 10, top 20 producer. Is he a top 10, top 20 rap? No. if we're being honest. And I love Kanye. Happy birthday to him. I love Kanye, but he's not a top 10, top 20 producer. Rapper, I should say. LP is, I mean, he's excellent at both. Like, there's no drop off in skill between either of his two skill sets. So I don't know. I guess the best way to say it is he's just an artist.
It gets really hard to rate great rappers who are also excellent producers.
Yeah.
It gets really tricky, man. And like DJ Quick comes to mind for me. Big Crit, people who are just really excellent. But if I was pressed to answer, I think I would say that while LP is growing as a writer so much all the time, as a producer, he keeps growing at this alarming rate.
Yeah.
What did he say? So I just think he's a producer's producer. At the end of the day, he's
that's
a full-on producer, and it's hard to say anything else. I mean, so
yeah, he's an excellent producer.
I can't tell you how many times I have wanted like him to produce for other people. Like in my mind, I've been like, man, he needs to just do a full album with Zach De La Rocha. He needs to do a full album with so. Or like texting with my friends and being like, God, LP could really save this guy, because that sound, there's so much there.
Absolutely, there's a lot of energy because there, as kind of going back to what we were saying, his production has energy in it. There's not a lot of production in hip hop that has pure energy, and you could get that because LP has such ties to the rock community. A lot of great rock music has energy. I mean, there's not a lot of great rock music out right now, in my opinion, but nonetheless, when rock is at its peak, it's defined by its energy, its rebelliousness, its rambunctiousness, and a lot of that is missing from hip hop right now because of the things that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people would sound good under LP's style of production, and he's smart enough that he would tailor it enough to fit the artist. But that energy that he produces would not be lost.
So LP on an AMA Reddit with Mike, he said advice for an aspiring producer: discover weed, also listen to everything, collect records, play them front to back to get inspiration and understanding on how great musicians create the flow of a record.
Yeah.
Pay homage to your influences, but use them to create your own sound. I mean, some of that stuff is like basic kind of eat your vitamins, all that stuff. But man, don't just pull the sample. Listen to the whole record. Understand how things flow into other things.
Right.
Right? Like this is the difference between a beat maker and a producer.
Yeah.
And I just think he's one of one, man, in that regard. What the best you can do as a producer is hope to make it so nothing ever sounds like you.
Right.
They can say, that's like that Timbalandish beat. It ain't Timbaland. No one mistook it for Timbaland.
Right.
It's, if I say it has an organized noise kind of vibe, it is an organized noise. It's just the closest thing I can pull to. Like, and he's become his own. Like this is like an LP-ish kind of thing. Like he's
Yeah,
become his own thing.
absolutely.
It's yeah, it's something, and it's crazy to think where Killer Mike would be without LP. Um, it's, I mean, can you imagine Mike trying to blow big over sparse drill beats? Can you
I
imagine?
mean, Run the Jewels gave him, I mean, one, it expanded his audience. And I, I talked earlier, I talked about the influence that Killer Mike had on LP, but LP also had an influence on Killer Mike as well. I mean, and if you listen to Killer Mike's album, his first album, and then you listen to Run the Jewels, you can tell that he's kind of loosened up a little bit, and he's a little bit more playful, a little bit more freer. And that's because of LP allowing him. So Killer Mike grounds LP, but LP allows Killer Mike to expand his sound and experiment in ways that he probably, if it weren't for Run the Jewels, would not have been able to do.
One of the shocking stories that I heard, I think this was on the Talib Kweli interview, was he said back in the day when Eminem first started, blowing big, one of the magazines, I don't know if it was Vibe or Source, was going to do like a white rappers article about like crazy white rappers and how rare it is. They wanted Eminem to be featured and they wanted LP. And LP refused to participate because he didn't want to make it seem like it was harder for him being white. He didn't want to play it up. He just thought that was cool. Like he wanted to be a part of the culture, and that's it. And that's what he's done.
Yeah.
He deserves full Mac Miller credit, man, for being a citizen who supports the culture, supports the people within it, and doesn't try and shape it around him and make his culture.
No. I mean, I saw they did like a commercial, or I think they were being, Killer Mike or Run the Jewels was being sponsored by some alcohol brand. I forgot the name of it, a couple of years ago. And they were talking about they were talking about their collaboration and their friendship. And if I recall correctly, LP got so worked up. It was either LP or Killer Mike. They got so worked up talking about it, like they were moved to tears, talking about the impact that they had had on each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's that it happens. It just happens, and there's a real clarity to it, that, and to LP's philosophy, especially, of you just do it.
Yeah.
Do it and you do it well. So back to my analogy, if Killer Mike is the David Ortiz of the situation, and that makes LP the Kurt Schilling of the situation. Pitched for 20 years, and his lifetime ERA is something like 5 or 6. Like it's not too low.
Right.
He had a couple 20-win seasons in there. But if you look at his postseason ERA, it's 2. When you needed the out, Kurt Schilling got the out.
Yeah.
Bloody sock and all. you know, whatever. And that's kind of Killer Mike. Obviously, the politics are different between those two. Um, it's weird, and what I was talking about this week when the machine started rolling, they started playing Armand Hammer against this and saying Armand Hammer is the real prescient stuff of this time, but Armand Hammer is Billy Woods is a philosopher, and he is digging to the depths of hip hop music, right?
Yeah.
He is digging to the heart of it. I'm glad he's doing it. He's fucking incredible. But Run the Jewels is trying to make underground values mainstream.
Right.
They want you to Google Greg Nice and stream Greg Nice and give him some streams. They want you to find out who Zach De La Rocha is and go do your homework and do that. Right?
Right.
They want you to be active and thoughtful about your political world, about your emotional world, but they also want you to have fun and go to the festival. Fuck it.
Right.
So they are trying to expand, and Armand Hammer couldn't care less about that.
Right.
They're basically challenging the people who are expanding to them.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no right answers, right? I mean, I was listening to Seinfeld. He was on Mark Maron's podcast. You should listen to it. It's just as awkward as I'd hoped it had been. At the end, Seinfeld's like, you call me again. I do this anytime. I love talking about comedy. And Maron's like, yeah, but you never actually like go deeper into what this is. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, about other ways to do it and about, the personal or political or bigger ways to do this comedy. And Seinfeld goes, look, you go buy a guitar. The guy doesn't tell you tell you what to play. You just try and play it good, however you want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the laugh's the thing. If you get the laugh, you win.
Right.
I don't care how you did it. Your political, your personal, your one-liners, as long as you're funny. That's it. That's all I care about. And he's just talking about the mechanisms of getting to funny. But he doesn't care about the specifics of it. And
wow.
There's a little bit of that in Run the Jewels. Run the Jewels is about being dope. And both of them believe, like, I was telling you, Killer Mike shouts out J. Rue the Damager, who's an East New York, New York hip hop legend of some size. And then to end, what was it, the second one? LP shouting out Pin. That wasn't funny on brand switching it up. Those guys genuinely don't see a fucking difference. Which makes them durable. It makes them, able to flow into these different eras better. They don't sound tired.
No. I was surprised when you said LP is 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah. He's just incredibly relevant and a Hall of Famer, bro. Like Cannibal Ox, The Cold Vein is considered one of the most important underground records of the 2000s. He produced all of them. I mean, his handprint's everywhere.
Right.
In a way that's kind of startling. And the more I looked at it, the more I found him in different places, just fucking being LP.
It's the highest compliment you can give to someone, man. He was just being him.
Did you hear the
Yeah.
story of his name? Probably the best
No.
story. He said originally he wanted to be that it stood for Lyrical Punisher, which is very 90s, like, my name's an acronym and it means this and that. But he realized it was fucking corny. Head for something else. He saw a box of El Producto cigars that he used to roll his weed in. And he said it stands for El Producto.
I love it, man. You're right. When you have a name like LP, I'm guessing it would be the initials LP. Those rap names don't tend to age well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're gonna pick a rap name, make sure that it can age well as you grow.
Yeah. I mean, it's Guru of Gangstar. His name was an acronym that meant Guaranteed Unlimited Rhymes Universal.
Mm.
It's like something on a crossword or something. But an incredible MC. It's rough when people are like, "Why does he call himself Guru?" You're like, "Oh shit." But yeah, recommendation corner. Obviously, old school wise, ain't a damn thing changed by Nice and Smooth. Um, you know, whatever EPMD you can get your hands on. Um, Fantastic Damage. My favorite LP album is I'll Sleep When You're Dead. 13 songs. It's a mean, beautiful little listen. But it's, if we're talking about modern, this year just came out. Navy Blue, Ada Irene.
Okay.
I'm terrible at pronouncing things. Navy Blue runs amongst that collective. Preservation produced a lot of it. Think of it like one of those beautiful, sleepy jazz albums with like a New York rapper in the mold of Ka over it.
Oh wow.
Not like with the density of Ka, but with like the emotional heart of Ka.
Wow. What's the name of it one more time?
Ada Irene. Ode to My Love was kind of my window into that thing. But yeah, he's
Okay.
on the Eastern Medicine Western Illness Preservation album, and he's very impressive there. So Navy Blue is the man's name.
Navy Blue.
But yeah, great stuff. Everybody out there, some tips. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Keep your people safe. Fuck Tucker Carlson. How about that? That's the third one. Fuck Tucker Carlson. Fuck people who watch Tucker Carlson. That's it. If you know that, you're good. You're in good shape. State of the game. If you have recommendations for what we should cover, where we should go next, let me know. Appreciate it.